All right, so had some time to process what went down on Thursday night, and again, just a great event. It's pretty cool just to see how everybody in the Philadelphia sports community comes together. You see guys like Phil Martelli, Brian Howard, Chase, like everybody coming together. John Middleton was there. Just a good, very exciting night, and just the St. Joe Hawk was there, the Philly Fanatic, just fun. But to me, the thing that I enjoy the most are the speeches of the inductees. So just kind of highlight some of the speeches because there's a lot of great things that were said. Merle kicked it off. He was inducting Stan, who wasn't able to make it in, but did want to be honored into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame, and just the stories he had of him when they were in the broadcast booth about how he was so unfiltered and didn't really spoke his mind, and just his absolute disdain for the Cowboys was awesome. Joe DeCamera did mention the thing that I mentioned when we did this inductee spotlight on him, how his first memory of Stan, because I believe Joe is my age, or around the same age, but just listening to him on the radio, and you could just tell the genuine love that Merle Reese had for Stan. Then Paul Westhead came up, had so many great stories in basketball. He's coached so many different places at so many different levels. But the thing that stuck out to me the most about his speech was just you could tell just the love he had for Hank Gathers. He said he was his favorite player ever, and just he talked about the game that they went down to LSU against Shaquille O'Neal, and I think Shaq blocked Gathers' first 5 or 7 shots, and he was like, most people would have given up. Not Hank Gathers. He came back and scored like 40 points and just had himself a game. And I was always a huge Hank Gathers fan, and to hear the stories about that was just great. Joan Moore came up and she just talked about her experiences and throughout her gymnastics career, both as a performer and then after the fact, but just said, she was like, I was always a Philly girl. Even though I'm in Florida, I'm still a Philly girl at heart. I think the best speech of the night was George Benton's daughter in law. She gave a great speech kind of highlighting his career and just how much boxing meant to him. And unfortunately, he was not able, he passed away, so he's not, wasn't there, but just talked about how much this honor would have meant to him. And to me, those are, that's what's cool about the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. Yeah, you have Ryan Howard, you have Chase Utley, but guys like George Benton, who were major players in their sport, but you don't necessarily hear those stories because they don't play in the 4 major sports. But she gave an excellent speech. Loreline Jones was just phenomenal. The stuff that she's done is just great, and just the influence and impact she's had on so many people in Philly is just remarkable. She talked about, yeah, I might be the winningest coach in public league, and she's like, but I had great players. She was very humble and gave the credit to her players, which I loved. She was more impressed, and her thing was changing the lives of the people that she came in contact with. But she was very honored and humbled. She talked about how much it meant to her to be honored to be inducted. I talked yesterday. The introduction that Dan Baker did for Chase Utley gave me chills. It was just amazing. Jameer Nelson came up, and apparently quite a few people had asked him if he could suit up and play for the Sixers. He was like, no, I'm unable to play right now. I'm too old. But he gave a good speech just talking about his time at St. Joe's and how even though he didn't play for the Sixers, the spirit of Philadelphia never truly left him. And it just, he was great. I mean, he was that St. Joe's team back in the day. I was hardcore Temple. It was when Chaney was doing his thing, and it was the only non-Temple team I ever actively rooted for in the NCAA tournament. Andy Talley, he was more concerned with talking, which is a great foundation, his bone marrow foundation, but really just what he did for Villanova football is just remarkable, and the fact that it raised it from being nothing to being a national powerhouse in Division One AA, FBC or whatever it is now, or FBS. Uh, but like, if you can, go check out his Bowmauer Foundation charity. He's doing great things, and it's really a great organization. Cheryl Reeve was great. She talked about her time playing at LaSalle, and Speedy Mars was in attendance. It was good to see him. But she said that he was the coach of the girls' team when she was there, and he became the coach of the men's team while she was on the team. And she just thought that that was like the natural progression of things as NCAA basketball coach. It wasn't until later she said that it was a demotion, and everybody laughed, and Speedy acknowledged it, which was pretty cool. Brendan Hansen talked about just when he told people when he started swimming nationally and even at the University of Texas that when people said that he was from Philly, everybody was like, oh, shit, because they knew he was going to outwork them. He was going to be more gritty than them. And to me, that I love that speech because it just showed really, like, as bad as of a reputation we get sometimes, it's just we're hard workers, and that's what we expect from our teams. And the fact that he's going around with all these swimmers nationally, and they're just like, man, this dude's going to work. And it really, he said, upped the games of everybody else, and really made an impact on the U.S. national team. Ryan Howard was also introduced by Dan Baker. Got chills for that, but I really liked his message here. He was like, kind of acknowledged that it wasn't always the greatest relationship with the fans, but he was like, Philly is the city of brotherly love. You fight your brother, you hate your brother, but at the end of the day, you love your brother. And I think that, to me, I made sure I wrote that down because that is the essence of Philly sports and being a Philly fan. It's one of those things where if he said he didn't know what to expect coming from St. Louis, but that, to me, sums up Philly sports fans perfectly. Basically, we're going to love you. We're going to hate you. We expect this out of you. But at the end of the day, you're ours. And I think that was just a great way to do it. Angelo did come up at the end. He brought some guys from the Dirty 30. They were manufactured booze. Mine was real, though. I did not realize the Dirty 30 was going to be there. They threw pieces of paper that looked like snowballs at him. So it was kind of a manufactured thing. I didn't get that memo, so my booing was real. Like I said, it's you can't not. What he did in Philly sports and talk radio, you can't argue that. Like I said, I just never got over the Donovan thing. But the one thing he did say that I think really tied in with the Ryan Howard quote, he said, listen, players, owners, all general managers, they come and go. The one constant is the fans, and don't ever change. He's like, that is what makes Philly. And then Joe DeCamara, when he did say, and I think this is how a lot of us feel, he mentioned that it's a different feeling being a Philadelphia sports fan. Yes, there's more than our fair share of heartaches and disappointments and things like that. However, he did say he wouldn't change or trade the 27 Yankees World Series championship for being a Philly fan, because it does. When the teams win here, it just means more. And I think that, to me, was the essence of the night. It just was a great time with all of these great people in Philly sports history. A fun night. The messages were awesome. And like I said, to me, that's what's important, is telling the story. Hearing Loreline Jones talk about why it was so important for her to fight the School District of Philadelphia and the Catholic League in order to get the girls the opportunity to play for the city championship. Hearing Brendan Hansen talk about how they knew he was going to work harder than them, and then he had to live up to that reputation then. And then just the stories of Stan Walters, who just his hatred of the Cowboys was real, stemming from him as a player. So these guys and girls are just like us, and it's great to hear that. So good time. Already looking forward to planning for next year's induction ceremony. I feel like there's going to be a lot of good things on the horizon with the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. So stay tuned for more on that. But especially with the Archives project, I have some ideas. I'm looking forward, now that I've had a full year of seeing the whole process, being more involved, and getting really taking it to the next level, because I do think the organization is great. So many great people, and to really have the support of the athletes. And it's really, there is no Sports Hall of Fame without the athletes. And to have the athletes want to come back and realize how big of an honor it is to be considered one of the greatest in Philadelphia, which has such a rich history of sports, is awesome. So I wanted to kind of recap the speeches. It's always my favorite, like I said, part of the night. It was awesome to set up the memorabilia display and see people go in and out, and really just embrace what Philly sports has to offer. So thank you for listening. I appreciate it.